Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be talking about the Brooklyn Nets potentially signing Jonathan Kuminga in the offseason. Over the last couple of days, there have been a lot of rumors about the Brooklyn Nets potentially signing the 22-year-old potential star for the Golden State Warriors. Jonathan Kuminga this year has played 47 games, and in his 47 games has 10 starts, 24 minutes per game, and has a average of 15 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, 1 steal per game, and from the floor, he's shooting 45%. Not shooting very good from 3 this year, a career low 30.5%. At the same time, Kuminga is shooting a career high 3.2 3-point attempts per game. I think something I've noticed when watching the Warriors a little bit this year is that some teams are daring Jonathan Kuminga to shoot the ball, and he kind of baits into it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When I say sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, I'm talking about for Kuminga. And most of the time when the defense goes with the strategy of leaving Kuminga open from 3 and letting him shoot, daring him to shoot, it's not all the time he knocks it down. But because this season, Jonathan Kuminga from 3 is 46 for 120. 46 for 151. So there are a lot of those threes are him being dared to shoot the ball. But yeah, and last year Kuminga was from 53 for 165. So, but Kuminga still has a lot of talent. More of his talent is getting to the rim, making plays at the rim, or his mid-range shots. Really good mid-range shooter, and I think he has a solid future in this league. I think the crazy thing about Jonathan Kuminga is he is 22 years old and has already played 4 years of basketball. Last 2 years has averaged 16 points per game, 15 points per game. This year, 16 last year. So I think he has a solid future, but I don't know if it's with the Warriors because you think every year. Last year it looked like it was the year for him to become more of a guy for this Warriors team, like that second or third guy potentially next to Steph. I don't know if I look at him as the second guy to Steph. Last year it looked like he could start to become that. With what we've seen from this year, I would say no. But, maybe it's been looking like at times like he can be that third guy. And the Warriors haven't really treated him like that. In other words, I'd say Podziemski's become more of that third guy. And I'm not including Draymond in there because offensively Draymond is I would say maybe not even fourth guy, fifth guy. I mean, we're just talking about scoring wise. I mean, maybe offensively Draymond's that third or fourth guy if we're going to include the facilitating Draymond does, the movement that Draymond does, but just score at a scoring level. Podziemski's that third guy, scoring wise. You might say, and I know he's getting less minutes now the postseason started, but with his 3-point shooting ability, Buddy Hield potentially that fourth guy in scoring, and then you could throw Draymond in there, or maybe Moses Moody, who's a guy that is a good shooter. I mean, Draymond not really. I mean, if you need Draymond to score, he can score potentially, but he's gonna do a better job with rebounding, facilitating, and defensively. But that's really always been the story of Draymond. So I thought Kuminga could potentially be that third guy for this Warriors team, but Steve Kerr has cut Jonathan Kuminga out of the rotation over the last 3 important games for this Warriors team. The last game of the regular season, which was a game for the Warriors to fight to get a playoff spot, which they lost to the Clippers. Kuminga saw a DNP, and then their play-in game against the Memphis Grizzlies that they won, he saw another DNP, and Game 1 last night against my favorite team, the Houston Rockets, Kuminga saw a DNP. And it doesn't look like that there are any plans of Jonathan Kuminga being in the rotation in this postseason. And honestly, I don't know if I blame Steve Kerr. Because Gary, look, you look at it this way. Gary played I look at guys, you're playing one of the best teams in the league with size. I mean, I'm just talking about when it comes to size, and athleticism, one of the best teams in the league. You need all the best defense you can get. Gary Payton's a guy that needs minutes. Gary Payton he's playing well recently, but he needs minutes because he's playing well and he's a good defender. I'm not saying Kuminga isn't, but Gary Payton is a much better defender. Like I said, Rockets have a lot of size. You need Quinton Post to get minutes. You know, you want to beat the Rockets with something, and I'm saying this as a Rockets fan, by the way. You want to beat the Rockets with something they're not great at, is three-point shooting. Buddy Hield needs minutes. At times, look, the Rockets, go with a double big lineup at times. And maybe Kevin Looney, you want to give him some minutes. Maybe try out Kevin Looney and Quinton Post being on the floor together. And that's actually not that crazy of an idea because Quinton Post is a good three-point shooter. Kevin Looney has improved his three-point shot. That's not a crazy idea to have both of those guys on the floor with each other. So if guys like potentially Kevin Looney, Quinton Post, Gary Payton, Buddy Hield off the bench deserve minutes. As at times, even though that Steve Kerr has gone to deep rotations, you're not going to see a 10-man rotation. Kuminga doesn't make the cut. And I don't blame Steve for not wanting to play Kuminga. Honestly, let's just say the Lakers potentially move, and I'm not thinking of the Minnesota Timberwolves in this, for instance. Let's say the Lakers beat the Timberwolves and the Warriors move on in this series against the Rockets. Maybe you can look to give Kuminga more minutes because, he is, because the Lakers don't have as great a size, and Kuminga could get more minutes for this Warriors team in a second-round matchup against the Lakers. And the reason I said I'm not considering this with the Timberwolves is because I don't think the Timberwolves will win the series, because the Timberwolves, that's another team that has great size, just like the Rockets. Timberwolves have Randall, Rudy, Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That's another team that has a crazy amount of great size. You're going to need great defenders to guard those guys if Minnesota were to potentially upset the Lakers. But just moving on from Kuminga potentially getting minutes, Kuminga has completely been turned away from the rotation in the last 3 really important games to the Golden State Warriors team, and he's heading into free agency. Now, here's the difficult part. He's heading into restricted free agency, which gives the Warriors a chance to match any offer. Now, Brooklyn, they're going to have some money to spend this free agency. They can throw Kuminga in the bag, and Kuminga can sign an offer sheet with the Brooklyn Nets, and I don't know what the number is going to be for the Golden State Warriors to be willing to re-sign Kuminga, because I feel like there is a chance that Brooklyn could offer him some crazy deal, and the Warriors would say that's too much for us to re-sign him when he wasn't even playing in the playoffs for us this year. We got to let him walk, and there is a way where you could see a sign and trade happen potentially, and that would work out. And you'd see Jonathan Kuminga head to Brooklyn in a sign and trade, and the Warriors wouldn't walk away with nothing out of it. But like I said, the Nets have a lot of money to spend. The Warriors, you look at it and some of the money they've spent, you've got Stephen Curry, who's making a lot of money. Jimmy Butler just got a $60 million extension. Draymond Green got paid a lot of money a couple years ago. Outside of that, there's not a lot of other guys making a lot of money, so maybe they could add in another big deal to make, sign another big deal. But how much are you going to be willing to pay Jonathan Kuminga, a guy you don't even want to play in the playoffs? And I don't. The answer, what I will say about this is for the Nets. If you're Brooklyn, you might be really willing to spend a lot of money to get Jonathan Kuminga, because he has a lot of promise. And if you're able to re-sign Cam Thomas as well, and you pair Cam Thomas with Cam Johnson and Jonathan Kuminga, and some of the other young players the Nets might have, the Nets are going to have a draft pick this year. Honestly, it might be a solid young team you'll see being built next year in Brooklyn if they are able to, build a team around Jonathan Kuminga, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, and other guys in Brooklyn. And with other draft, and with having their own draft picks now in the future after the trade they made with the Rockets last draft. So I think Kuminga ending up in Brooklyn is a possibility, but I think here's the thing. You've got to offer Kuminga a crazy number. I think potentially you're looking at a 4-year, 5-year deal potentially. And that doesn't seem too bad because he's 22 years old. and then also the fact you're going to have to offer him some crazy money. Because it's not about Kuminga. And here's the thing: it's not about offering the crazy money and the crazy length of a deal. It's not about getting Kuminga to want to go to Brooklyn, because I think Kuminga might not care to leave Golden State with how he has found himself being out of the rotation. And you look at it, he's never been involved in the playoffs in their rotation. When the Warriors look at the 2022-23 season, Jonathan Kuminga played 67 games, averaged 10 points per game, was a part of the Warriors rotation during the regular season. Then the Warriors go into the playoffs that year, and Kuminga is barely involved in the playoffs. Now, I don't think you look over their, and you can kind of go over the same thing in the year the Warriors won the championship. The year the Warriors won the championship, he played 70 games as a part of the rotation most of the year, averaged almost 10 points per game as a rookie, and barely played in the playoffs. He's a guy that has never, been able to play in the playoffs so far, really. He's played a little bit in few minutes here and there, but has really never been fully a part of the Warriors, postseason. They played in that postseason. They played 13 games in the postseason. He played 10 of those games. So there was 3 games in last year's postseason, 2023 postseason, where he was DNP'd. But then there's also a lot of those 10 games where he does play, or are games where he's not even playing, 10 minutes. Some games where he's not even playing 6 minutes. Kuminga has barely been involved in the 2 postseasons that the Warriors have played in his 4-year career. So I think there are multiple reasons why Jonathan Kuminga would want to leave Golden State. So I don't think there's not a problem trying to get him to come to Brooklyn, but I think the problem is, offering him a deal the Golden State Warriors, will not match, because any deal that the Warriors match, Kuminga re-signs with the Warriors. It's not about, hey, I don't want to re-sign with you guys. I want to take their deal. You don't get to pick. Kuminga doesn't get to pick. If the Warriors match the offer, he's going back to Golden State. That's how restricted free agency works. So we'll see what happens with Kuminga this offseason. Who knows when the Warriors will get eliminated, whether it's this series against the Rockets. I hope it is, as a Rockets fan. Or it's next round against the Lakers or Timberwolves, or somewhat later in this playoffs. But that will be if the Warriors are eliminated, or if the Warriors somehow win the championship, and which I don't see happening, and whatever the Warriors offseason is, that will be this whole Kuminga thing will be the biggest headline for this Warriors team. Let me know your thoughts on this whole Jonathan Kuminga stuff in the comment section, and peace out.